Good morning and welcome to xMatters' Demo Days. Thank you for joining us. As today's host, I'm excited today to be talking to one of many technology partners that we work with, Google Cloud. You'll hear not only about some of their market-leading features, but how when implemented with xMatters, organizations of all sizes can ensure their services are reliable as your customers expect. We have the chat area open today for you to post comments, questions, anything you'd like throughout the webinar. Before we begin, just a quick disclaimer. This session is intended for xMatters customers or prospective customers. It is subject to all published fair use policies and other terms and conditions. If you'd like more information, you can find it at xmatters.com/policy. I'm your host, Rutuja Rajwade. I'm the Partner Marketing Manager at xMatters, and joining us from Google Cloud is Ayelet Sachto. Ayelet is a strategic cloud engineer at Google with over 10 years of experience spanning solution architecture, R&D, DevOps, and SRE practices. We're also joined by xMatters solution architect, Maxwell, who will be showcasing some of xMatters' features that complement your Google Cloud deployment. Google Cloud Operations Suite, formerly known as Stackdriver, is designed to monitor, troubleshoot, and improve cloud infrastructure, software, and application performance. Coupled with Google Kubernetes Engine, the Google Cloud environment that can help teams speed up app development without sacrificing security. Operations can be streamlined with release channels, further optimized with xMatters' tool orchestration, and of course, all supported by the Google Site Reliability Engineers. xMatters is a service reliability platform that helps DevOps, SREs, and operations teams automate workflows, ensure infrastructures and applications are always working, and rapidly delivering products at scale. Our code-free workflow builder, Flow Designer, adaptive approach to incident management, and real-time performance analytics all support one single goal, the happiness of your customers. To support today's consumer digital experience, many organizations have had or are going through a cloud transformation. With that comes a number of challenges, including many companies finding themselves shifting away from monolithic infrastructure and embracing microservices. But this often brings a need for more tools to support design, build, deploy, and run phases of a product or service. Additionally, as teams scale their use of these technologies, dependencies grow, so platforms become more difficult to navigate, especially in times of crisis. Gathering data from these ever-evolving platforms becomes a Herculean task. This causes delays in service restoration and ultimately distracts your teams from being able to deliver business value by developing new products or features. If you're here today, chances are you've got some pain in one or more parts of your cloud operations, be that making sense of alerts with details or insights, eliminating toil and manual processes like gathering detailed information about pods or containerized applications. You need to be able to quickly and easily remediate digital services. Shortly, we'll hand it over to Ayelet, who will look at some of the key functionalities with Google Operations Suite, specifically how to set up monitor and associated actions. We'll then transition over to Eric, who will show us the xMatters flow and how it can not only automate our incident response, but also trigger back to Google platform to roll back a deployment. Ayelet, over to you.
Thank you. So hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, I will walk you through a step-by-step SLO creation guide using GCP Cloud Operations Suite. If you want to learn more about why you should prioritize reliability and about SRE, Site Reliability Engineering, I will also share some public resources at the end. But our focus today will be to demonstrate how we can measure reliability using cloud operations. And for that demo, I will also use our open source learning environment, Cloud Operations Sandbox. So as I was introduced, I'm Ayelet Sachto. I'm a strategic cloud engineer based in London. And for the purpose of this session, what it's important to know about me is that I'm leading production at large scale for almost 2 decades now. And with that, before we jump to the demo, I want to align on our principles and terminology. Reliability is a feature that needs to be prioritized and taken into consideration from the very beginning. Reliability is also our most important feature because if we are perceived as unreliable, we'll lose our user trust and they will leave us. But reliability is not enough. We cannot just sell reliability to our customers. We need features, new capabilities, and innovation. Google's framework for that is Site Reliability Engineering. It allows us to find a balance between velocity and reliability. So how SRE enable us to find that balance? How we know what is the level of reliability we need to provide our customers? In SRE, we are using a customer-centric approach. As long as our users are happy, we can prioritize velocity. But when we are perceived as unreliable, we should stop and prioritize reliability. But where do we draw the line between happy user and unhappy user? We call that measurement a service level indicator, SLI. An SLI tells you at any moment in time how well your service is doing. Is it doing acceptably or not? A reliability target for an SLI called an SLO, service level objective. Aggregate that over time. It says over this window of time, this is my target and how well am I doing against it. Most of you are probably familiar with SLA, Service Level Agreement, which defines what you are willing to do, for example, as money refund if you are failing to meet your objectives. To achieve that, we need our SLOs, our targets, to be more restrictive than our SLAs. Our scope to measure our user happiness is user journey. Our users are using your service to achieve a set of goals, and the most important one, called critical user journey. The use of SLOs facilitate incentive alignment across the product lifecycle and help us to make data-driven decisions. So let's demonstrate how we can draft and configure SLOs and SLIs. For the purpose of the demonstration, we'll use Cloud Operations Sandbox, which is a click-to-deploy learning environment. It includes demo service, one-click deployment service, interactive walkthrough, synthetic load generator, and SRE recipes, which is our version of chaos engineering, which we'll use in our demo today. The demo application called HipterShop, it is a web-based e-commerce application with a front end and a series of back-end services. It's composed of 11 microservices written in different languages that talk to each other over gRPCs. And it demonstrates the use of technologies like Kubernetes, GKE, Istio, cloud monitoring, logging, and more. In order to develop SLIs, it's important to understand how the application is built. So let's have a closer look. Users access the application through the front end. Purchases are handled by the checkout service. The checkout service depends on currency service to handle conversion, and other services such as recommendation service, product catalog service, and ad service are used to provide the front end with content needed to render the page. The first step in SLO creation is listing critical user journeys for the business. In our case, user can browse items, add them to the cart, and purchase them. Next, we would want to ask ourselves, which one are the most important one to the business? And yes, in our example, it's important to note that all of them are actually critical user journeys. But which one is the most important? Think about it from the user perspective. How many times did you browse or add items to a cart without purchasing them? So in our scope, we will want to start with checkout service because it's the most important and the most relevant to our revenue. So for the rest of the example, I'll use checkout critical user journey as the basis for our SLOs. Later, you can apply the same techniques to other critical user journeys or even your own. Next, we'll want to identify which metrics will represent the user experience most accurately. Given that the application itself serves end users' e-commerce traffic, it's important the user experience remains consistent. For that, we can use SLIs for request availability, how many requests are successful, latency, how long a request takes, or quality. For that, we will need to identify the SLI type, specification, and implementation. In our scope today, I don't have time to expand on each one of those steps, but for our use case, we'll choose SLI type from the menu, depends on the type of interaction, which is request response. Then we want to represent those as a proportion, number of good events divided by the total number of valid events. And then we'll refine that specification into a detailed SLI implementation, adding measurement method. Again, we are focusing on the checkout service, and we want to ensure that the checkout functionality remains available. In this case, we want to monitor how many users tried to check out and how many of those requests succeeded. So the number of successful requests is the good metrics. And it will demonstrate something like the proportion of HTTP GET requests for checkout service response count that do not have 500 status, 300 and 400 excluded, measured at the Istio service mesh. And at the end, I will also share with you a detailed information about it, so you can refer to why 300 and 400 are excluded in our use case. After we define our SLIs, we need to set our service level objective. Those are targets for our SLI during a specific time window, for example, a month or a quarter. So for example, 4 nines reliability in 28 days. That window should be a time frame that will allow us to make strategic decisions and prioritize reliability when needed. After we define our SLIs and SLOs, it's time to configure them. In GCP, our tool for monitoring and observability is Cloud Operations. Cloud Operations Suite provides several capabilities that facilitate SRE implementation from out-of-the-box telemetry and dashboards, observability, integration, and the ability to create SLOs, integrated alerting on those SLOs, and incident management, and we will demonstrate today. Cloud Operations provides service-oriented monitoring. That means that we are configuring those SLIs and SLOs for a service. So our first step is to ingest the data. For GKE and NTOS, it's out of the box and no action is needed. But customers can also ingest additional data and custom metrics. Then we define our service, our SLI, our indicator, create SLOs, our targets, and lastly, alert. Provisioning the environment itself using Cloud Operations Sandbox can take up to 20 minutes. So I already created the environment so we can focus on creating our SLIs and SLOs. But after you go to the website, you can click on create your environment. Then you will need to authorize that. And using Cloud Shell, a script will automatically launch a Terraform provisioning script to provision the environment. And at the end, you will receive a screen similar to this one. Let's look at the already provisioned environment. In this case, I already created the environment before the session, and I can use Sandbox CTL to run command. We can create new Sandbox environment. We can describe that information about the already existing one. We can destroy our environment. We can run the synthetic load generator, as I mentioned before, and we can also run SRE recipes, which will create a problem in our environments, and we can debug and understand using our observability tooling to understand what is the problem. And Eric will use a similar scenario in his example as well. In this case, I want to go to our monitoring environment. Cloud Operations Sandbox also comes with pre-configured dashboards that you can use. Services. As I mentioned, Istio services are recognized already, but just to demonstrate the capabilities, we also added custom services that you can use yourself, and those have already pre-configured SLOs and SLIs. But for the demonstration itself, I want to create it for the Istio service, as we mentioned. So I'm going to the service, going to create SLO. The first thing is that I will configure my SLI. In our case, it was availability, request-based. If we had already data, we'll see the previous performance according to it, and you can see that it already identified the metric as the request count for the checkout service. The next step, we'll configure our SLOs. In our case, we'll choose rolling window for 28 days, and our target will be 99.9. Again, if we had data, we could preview that based on historical data. Because it's a new environment, there's not a lot of data to compare to. And lastly, we can review it and see it, the JSON itself before we are creating it. So that is our SLO. What's next? We can create alerts based on those SLOs in case we are out of budget. For that, we will create our alert similar to the burn rate threshold as well and the time frame. And here we are integrating with the system. Our notification channel can be emails, but we can also add webhooks. So in our example, we had a new one. This is the webhook that Eric was created already before. So, and he will show and demonstrate how you can create it in xMatters system. When done, if there is an incident, we can see it both in alerting or in the services screen as well. And we'll see those alerts in case those are firing, those are out of budget. And with that, Eric, to you to demonstrate how you can create that integration and debug and troubleshoot an incident.
All right. So Ayelet just showed us how we can use cloud operations to monitor and alert on SLIs and SLOs. So how could we combine that with xMatters and help automate our incident processes and make them more efficient? So as we last saw there, Ayelet was configuring an alert and she put an address or a webhook in for xMatters. So what I'm showing here is we're in the xMatters console and I'm in our Flow Designer tool. This is our low code configuration for setting up your automated processes. And this is where that alert would come in from Google Cloud Ops. So from there, I have a switch statement here that's actually checking the type of alert that it is. You did see her, she clicked the test button there when she was running it. This is the path that it would take. In that case, I don't have any flows for that one. But once we get a new alert, which we'll see in just a moment, it will follow this path. And then later I'll go through the clear path in just a moment. That's when the incident within Cloud Ops clears out. So on the alert path, the first thing I'm doing is I'm just checking the severity of the incident and mapping that to xMatters severity. That's just to kind of normalize things in the system. And then I'm actually grabbing some information from my Kubernetes cluster. This is a GKE cluster. I'm actually using this sandbox environment that Ayelet mentioned. And then it's creating an xMatters incident. And then I'm actually creating some channels and posting some information to some Microsoft Teams channels. And then finally, it's going to use the xMatters scheduling and escalation policies for the group that's responsible for the service that the alert is related to. And that on-call person will receive a notification that will contain a lot of this information here you'll see. And they'll also have several response options. These options can be customized. You can include more. You can change these to whatever you like, but you'll notice I have 3 here. I have acknowledged. So first off, this will let xMatters know that I'm going to take ownership of the incident, or that the responder will be taking ownership of the incident and stop the escalation process. It's also has a flow connected to it. This is allowing for some other things that happen, like updating our incident and updating our MS Teams channels. There is an escalate option. I'm not going to run that today, but if I did, this would immediately escalate to the next person. So maybe I'm busy, I can't get to this incident, so I need it to escalate immediately to the next person. And it's also doing some updates to MS Teams. And then finally in the demo, I will run this rollback deployment as Ayelet had mentioned. And this will actually, if we're doing some updates to MS Teams, you'll see, and then it's going to just, I'm doing a direct update to the deployment in GKE, but I would say probably in actual situations, you're probably going to use some other type of deployment tool or CI/CD tool to do something like that. And then I will actually take the output status from that command. And and in this case, I'm doing a success. If it failed, I could add other states if it failed, but in this case, I'm just going to do the success, and I'm going to do some updates to our incident. I'm going to do some updates into MS Teams, and there I'm going to grab that pod information again. All right. So let me jump over into, so the first thing I'm going to do is just show some of the resources that were created for us automatically. So the first thing was, I was talking about MS Teams. So we have two channels. The first one here is an alerts channel. This is a static channel. We can think of this as kind of a stakeholder channel where we're just posting information, general type information. In this case, I'm posting incident information, and I have a new incident, and we can see a summary of that. And we have links to our cloud operations incident, to the xMatters incident. And then we also have this incident channel that we created specifically for this incident. So this is our collaboration channel. So just like everything else, this is customized. You can customize what information you want to put or post in here as well. So let me jump to the incident channel. So you'll see it's very similar. We have summary information, but that did also include that pod information that I grabbed into this incident just to add context. So if you had other integrations, we could, with other tools that you're using, we could pull that information and include that in as well. All right, so we also created our incident. So let's check on our incident. All right. So here's our incident that was created, and you'll see it has that same summary information. And then we'll see that here I am as the incident commander. I was the person on call, so I just had it go ahead and assign it to me as the commander. But then it did notify this SRE team, and you'll see that there is no response. I'm a member of this team. I'll respond in just a moment, but we'll see that. And then here's that channel that was created for us automatically. It's been associated with our incident. And then finally, you'll notice that it's still in the open state at the moment. Now, this is our incident management within xMatters. You can, if you want more information, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You can check out our YouTube channel and check out the video on adaptive incident management. So now let me jump into my phone. All right, so you'll see this is that notification at the end of the flow that we saw earlier. This is the notification here that was sent out. So I'm on call for that group right now, and I have received this notification about a new incident from Cloud Ops. And then I thought it's going to go to sleep. There we go. All right, so here's our notification. Again, we have some information about the incident that we have here from Cloud Ops. And again, this information is, you can include or exclude whatever information you like in this notification, format it however you like as well. But I have my alert information, and then I also have my incident information from xMatters. I have the collaboration channel that was created for us for the incident, and then there's that pod information as well. The other thing to note here is I'm also using the xMatters app. This alert could be sent as well with email, a text message, or even you could use a voice alerts for these notifications. Now, here are the three response options that we saw just a minute ago in Flow Designer. We'll have the acknowledge, which I'm actually going to select now. And so that's going to, like I was saying earlier, let xMatters know that I'm taking ownership, and we can see that over here in the incident that now I'm engaged, and that I'm taking that it can stop the escalation process. But it's also running those that flow that was associated that is doing some other updates to our MS Teams and things. So we'll see here now that in our alerts channel that it's showing that it's now in progress, and then our incident channel that I have taken ownership. And if I look at the incident now, it's in progress as well. So, all right. So now we have our incident channel for collaboration, right? So I'm looking at the incident. I could be like, okay, so I see there's some latency in the UI, right? So it's showing that we have some uptime check issues, right? I see the latency, so I've been looking at this. I also saw in the pod information that it looks like the front end service has just, was just recently deployed. And then I can also see that, right, information in the notification as well, right? So looked at it. So I've decided that I want to roll back this deployment, or at least the front end, back to the previous version, so that we can then mitigate the issue until we can find till we can resolve it permanently. So I'm going to actually select the rollback deployment option in our notification. So this is running our, let me go back to Flow Designer. This is running that third option, right? So that is where we're updating our deployment and then gathering that success information and doing some updates there. Now, I'm showing it as an incident response or a notification response. This could be, depending on how you want to handle it, this could also be moved up in your process and run automatically. And we could send notifications instead of sending a notification and doing the rollback via response. We could do it automatically and then actually send the notification based on the status of that rollback. So let's see here. So our incident now is in the mitigated state. We will put it in mitigated state. If I go back to MS Teams, we'll see that, so xMatters posted that I had requested the deployment rollback, and then it's let us know that it's complete. And then we've actually pulled that pod information again, and we can see that pod redeploying with the new version. And then also our alert, we've updated it as mitigated. So I'm going to go back to Flow Designer. So now our incident should be resolving itself, or being resolved now. And what will happen is once CloudOps picks up that this incident has now, or that the issue has now been resolved, and all of our checks start to clear out, then that incident will clear out, right? And so that will come and follow our clear state. And in that clear, once we receive that, we will check, xMatters is going to check to see if it has any open events or notifications related to that incident, that CloudOps incident. And if it does, it's going to terminate those for us. We don't need them anymore. It's going to do some updates to our incident. We're also going to gather some of that, like that chat history and things from MS Teams, post some of that into our incident as well. We're actually we'll see that channel, that incident channel, that we won't need it anymore. So it's going to delete that for us once it's done gathering that information. And we'll post our updates into our alerts channel as well. So let's check. Let me check here real quick and see. We should be getting that notification. Yep, should be coming in just a moment, but we'll see things start to clear out. Let me check MS Teams here. There we go. All right, so we saw that now our alerts channel has been resolved. You see that the incident has now been cleared out, or the incident channel, and you notice that my notification is now gone. It terminated that. I no longer need notification. And if I go back to our incident, you'll see that it is now resolved, and that we have all our information about our incident. We can see here, like the chat history, there's where I put that. I see there's some latency in the UI, and that everything's resolved. Again, if you want more information, check out our YouTube channel. One of the things I did forget too is if you want more information about our Microsoft Teams integration, we also have a video chat ops with MS Teams that's on our YouTube channel as well. So that was a quick demo of integration with CloudOps, and how you can, instead of just standard notifications, all the things that you can do with automating our response enrichment of notifications and auto remediation. So I think we have some Q&A and some other items. I'm going to pass it back over to Rutuja.
Thanks, Eric and Ayelet, for that great demo. So I do have a question before we move forward. One is that, can we use another ticketing platform to log the incidents yet still leverage actions into Google Cloud?
Definitely, we integrate with, pretty much all the popular incident management tools. So yeah, you could use any one that you like.
Great. And I guess the other one that I see here is, how are permissions handled when xMatters calls into Google Cloud?
Yeah, so it just depends on what tools you're using, right? So I mean, it's kind of a standard, however you're when you're integrating with Google Cloud, your service accounts and things. So the permissions just depend on what it is that you want to do.
Awesome. Well, if any other questions pop up for the audience, please feel free to put them in chat. We can help answer them later. But as you've just seen, being able to connect powerful tools like Google Cloud and xMatters takes you into the next level for keeping your services running smoothly. You've seen how Google Cloud can be configured to monitor and provide valuable signals to xMatters for your on-call resources to respond to. You've seen how Google and xMatters can work together to facilitate and perhaps critically automate the incident response process. From incident creation to updates to collaboration and stakeholder communication, automating these key incident steps saves you painful manual toil and allows you and your team to focus on restoring services faster. So thank you again to both of our presenters, Eric and Ayelet. If you've enjoyed today's presentation, would like to get your hands on either product, you can sign up for free at for an xMatters instance at xmatters.com/signup. And if you want to learn about some features that Ayelet showed, here are some great resources and links on the screen that are public, along with Google Operations Sandbox one-click cluster. If you found this webinar interesting, we have more webinars scheduled every month. You can sign up at our Demo Days webpage or follow us on social. You can also track Google Cloud online, follow your channel of choice, and we share more there, such as the video that Eric brought up, and we'd love to connect with you. Thank you, Eric and Ayelet, for guiding us through the demonstrations of xMatters and Google Cloud. And to our guests, thank you for joining us. This concludes today's Demo Days event. Have a wonderful day.